go to this person's home. There's a wife and 2 children, and the father is paralyzed. It was a stroke. And so he was paralyzed, and he's laying in bed. The dad couldn't work. The kids are not in school. They were working, and this family was starving to death. Like, literally, they couldn't make ends meet. And we sat there and prayed, and I'm just like, this is nothing, you know? And I remember having this conversation with God, and I was like, God, if you really, in my head, I'm praying, I'm like, God, I would love to just see this person and see this family as you do. Like, you just give me that? I know that I'm in a tough place and I don't really care, but I want to care. And I swear for like maybe the most minuscule second, like I feel like God like pulled that veil over my eyes, and I saw this man, this family, as God saw them briefly, and it like broke. And I just began to weep. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry, God. Like, I'm so sorry I don't care. And we were praying, and this man who couldn't speak or walk, he speaks the name of Jesus, and his wife loses it. She starts jabbering off in Filipino and weeping and crying. And then he stands up.
No.
Whoa. And I sit there just like weeping. And this dude gets healed like, miraculously in this room. And I walk out. And I feel like the Lord said to me, and this is not a big like God told me guy, but I feel like God said, see, look what I could do.
Summer school, Everyday Exorcist summer school is starting in June. Kat, what's that date?
June 8th, every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will be live on Riverside. It'll be Grant and myself. We're going to have some teaching. We're going to have ministry. We're going to go on a deeper dive on some of these core foundational principles that we've already talked a lot about on our podcast, but we're going to go deeper. And we're going to have lots of times for question and answer. And it will be every Monday night from June 8th until August 3rd. I think there's a 1 week break in there. So we would love for you all to join us. The website, if you're interested in getting more details on that, is everydayexorcist.com/summer school. So go ahead and check that out. And if that is something you want to do, register, and we would love to have you there with us.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got handouts, we've got materials, we've got rulers, protractors. I couldn't remember what it was. Protractors. We've got chalkboards, some compis. We're going to do some actual live deliverance with some of the students, and we're going to have some Q&A. We're going to go into some topics that are maybe a little bit heavier, and so we can't spend a lot of time going super deep in them, but we're going to do it this time. Right now, it's not full, but we have limited it to 50 people. And so if you're hearing this and you want to jump on board to summer school, we would love to join you. There's no detention, only spiritual retention. And so we hope to see you, and it's going to be a good time. This is an experiment. We've done this because a lot of people have asked for something like this. And so we're trying. So we'll see how it works. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Okay, cool. So that's everydayexorcist.com/summer school. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Everyday Exorcist. We are so glad you've joined us today. This is the podcast where we just make exorcising demons.
We just exorcise them.
The most accessible thing that you possibly can do. And
ab workouts.
We exercise
curls
with demons, and we exorcise them out of you.
That's
and
right.
We make it a place where you can learn all about the ways of the Holy Spirit and all about the ways of learning about the deliverance ministry. I don't know, Grant. We're trying to figure out.
We make these up
tagline.
Every time, you guys, and we're here with like some really important special guests. This is the most amount of fame that has been on this podcast.
You're like the Body by Jake for for the Holy Spirit, dude. You're just exercising.
We're exercising.
What was the one that Chuck?
Oh,
What was the one that Chuck Norris had? What was his work?
It was
Total Body. Was it Total Body?
Yeah. Richard Simmons is the one I know best
Dude,
from that era.
Sweating to the oldies.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Guys, we are so excited to have the Blurry Boys in studio on the pod. We call it the pod around here. I don't know what you guys say about it, but like we're always like on the pod, you know. We try to be casual about it and, you know, just off the cuff on the pod. But thank you guys for joining our pod on Everyday Exorcist. We've got Luke, and I'm looking at the name Rodgers and Nathan Henry on our podcast today, and we are just so stoked to have you guys. So
yeah.
Thanks for making time. I know you guys are doing stuff like 90 miles a minute.
You know, Grant, everyone just gets my name wrong. I'm really impressed. This is the first time someone's actually gotten it right.
I just sounded it out phonetically.
Yeah.
Rodgers.
It works.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
good.
So
no, it's good to be here. It's good to be here. This is fun. We've been talking about trying to do this for a while. And, you know, Grant, we've had you on our show. We've been friends for a long time. We talked about you a little bit this week, actually, in one of our episodes. We were talking about Chris Baumgartner and The Hill, and it's been really cool. Funny enough, we met at Top Golf. I don't know how many years ago, Nate, when we did that Top Golf Blurry event.
Yeah.
Grant was there.
How was Grant's swing, Luke? Do you remember?
it was well. Kat was there too. Kat's my introduction into Blurryverse.
Well, Kat is the real founder of the feast here.
I am, and then I convinced them all to become members and to go to the meetup. And Sarah, Grant's wife, was there too. We had a good time. It was fun. It was back in the OG meetup.
Never liked you more than Grant.
Yeah. She sent us. This was like 2021, 2020.
Yeah.
Oh,
whatever that was.
Boys.
It was
is that when we did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was at Topgolf, and we had to become members in order to go to the Topgolf. And she was like, and I think at the time we had moved into your house, Kat, because we were in a renovation, and so we were in this crazy renovation, and so we were in Airbnbs for a year, and then ran out of money, and then
lived with us,
slept on their couch for 4 or 5 months, and
it was amazing.
And so it was during that point that she was like, I'm going to this Topgolf event. You guys have to be. So we've been gold members ever since. Blurry gold members ever since, you guys.
We love it. Your podcast is kind of a little bit of how Grant and I's relationship has grown and how we even decided to start this podcast, because y'all opened up all these questions and I would bring it to Grant, who was like my pastor friend. And I was like, Grant, tell me about this. And then we would have these back porch debates for forever. And we would talk about all the crazy stuff that he's doing in his ministry. And I just was like, so wait a minute, this stuff is real about like deliverance ministry. And he was telling me all the details. So that's kind of part of the door to our podcast too, was you guys' podcast and our friendship, honestly, and me just peppering Grant with questions all the time about what he's doing. Yeah. So it's pretty amazing. We love Blurry. We love the Blurry Creatures pod. It's amazing.
Well, the feeling's mutual for us. I know that.
You could call your new podcast Peppering Pemberton.
Peppering Pemberton. I like it.
Well, you got to keep the, what is the double entendre, right? You got Everyday Exorcist.
Yeah.
EE and PP. We're getting places here, guys.
Yeah, this is going to be one of our best episodes.
Listen, it's been fun though, because Grant, I mean, on a serious note, since we've, had become friends and had you on the show, for example, like I know that, love it or not, that we get a lot of questions about deliverance and prayer, and it's been honestly really nice to have somewhere to direct some of these things to. Because listen, we're just two dudes that do interviews, right? But we end up getting a lot of questions like we're the people that do the deliverance or something, right? Mm-hmm. Like, or we know him, and now we do. But it's been pretty cool, like to have a pastor and a friend that you could say, "Hey, I trust this guy. I know he's legit. It's not anything weirder than what it is." And
it's weird.
Yeah. We get weird, but it's. And I'll tell you, like it is an honor to be able to help people and do that. And so it's such a cool thing that we can help. And, that's what we're here for. And kind of what we wanted to talk to you guys about today was like the journey now that you're in in this world, and kind of wanted to just ask you about your journey into things of the spirit, into supernatural, and all of that. And I don't know if I know, honestly, like the full background, but I mean, did you guys grow up in like this kind of a world where you were accustomed to seeing things of the spirit and all of that all the time?
Not at the Southern Baptist Church on
No.
El Camino Baptist Church, Sacramento, California, did not
man.
have an exorcist on staff for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
No.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Wow. Well, what I love
Shocking.
about the way that you guys have kind of entered into it is, and a lot of the people that listen to our podcast is like, you guys started this podcast that had nothing to do with the spirit realm in your brain. And it moved into very quickly, you were faced with the reality that this is real. Like it started affecting your personal lives, and you started understanding more that this is like the spirit realm is right here, and it's more active than we realize. And, but I know, you guys have been doing it for several years, at least 5 years. I don't know when it started,
This is
but
year 6, Kat.
year 6, amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'm sure as you've, journeyed on this podcast of, asking hard questions and gone down the theological path a little more lately, that you've personally experienced things that are kind of the spirit realm, and you've had to be faced with the reality that this is not just ghost stories and movies like over dramatizing it. I mean, they definitely do over dramatize it to try and make it scary, but it's right there. And I think a lot of our listeners are new to the things of the spirit, and I would love for you guys to just tell, like, I really like to start kind of on a hopeful note about like maybe one of the first encounters you had that with the Holy Spirit that made you realize like, wow, the supernatural is real. And there's more to this than just like a religious, practice. So I'd love to hear like a personal story from both of you of like something where God really encountered you, whether it was from when you were a kid or something more recent. I would just love to hear that to kick off, and then Grant can take it to whatever he wants to take it to.
Yeah, because a lot of our audience, in fact, maybe most of them, are not from a background that have like awareness into this, and so they're sort of coming into this, and so it's really helpful. With most of our guests as well are not from this kind of a background, and they've kind of found it, right? And so it just helps people to kind of understand, A, they're not crazy, and B, like this is something that people tend to do, and I feel like the Lord is doing this even more in this season with people.
Yeah, the veil is thinning a bit between all of it for everybody.
So I don't know who wants to go first, but
Well, I think for the most part, what we found, is like the average person doesn't have a blurry life. There are some people for whatever reason have a grab bag. We get these emails that are like 7 pages.
38 pages this last week.
Oh my God.
No, seriously.
I get some of those too.
And you're like, I've maybe had like a few supernatural experiences in my day. I mean, I saw like a blurry creature in the window when I was a kid, and I didn't really put it together until I was later. I don't know if it looked just like the classic werewolf stuff that you hear. I was probably 7 years old when I saw that thing. And then when I was listening to these podcasts when I was like in my 30s, I was like, wait a minute, people are describing what I saw as a kid. And, I just relegated it to 80s, too many horror movies, too much stuff that my older brothers and sisters were watching. I was just imagining stuff. And I've told that story a bunch of times on our podcast. But I think for me, there's like this moment in my life when my whole life switched and changed. And to me, it was the moment where I was like, okay, God, like you're there. And I think that's where most people's faith journey starts. It's they grow up in church, they pray, maybe they accept Christ. But for the most part, they're trying to get into college. They're trying to get a job. They're trying to like figure out who to marry. They're not really having, quote, supernatural experiences. But I remember I was trying to get into Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I drove down. I didn't know anybody there. I stayed with my sister's friend's fiance in his dorm, and it was late summer or the beginning of summer. Everyone had already had their apartment complex for the next year. I was driving down on a whim, like I feel like I'm supposed to go to college here. I don't know why. I mean, it's a terrible place to go to college if you've been to San Luis Obispo. I mean, you just really roughing it out. for God down there, you know, near
Especially
the beach.
as a rec major, dude. Yeah.
But I was like, you know, I was the last in my family. My parents were struggling. It was just miserable in Sacramento. I was like, I got to get out of here. I just got to go. I got to do something. So I remember I was listening to an old Switchfoot song.
Oh my gosh.
The one where he's lamenting, it's his birthday, and he's like the lyrics like, I'm a plane with nowhere to land, and you probably know that song. And I hiked up the mountain over San Luis Obispo, and I sat on top of the Cal Poly P, and the only thing I had was a camp register list, because I was working at Mount Herman Camp in Santa Cruz that summer with there was 10 people on staff that summer out of 50 college students who went to Cal Poly. And I emailed this one guy. I was like, hey, I'm down here for 2 days. You don't know me. We'll probably be friends by the end of the summer. Hey, can you show me around town? He's like, well, actually, I'm going to this Campus Crusade barbecue. It's the last barbecue of the year. It's just like a pop-up one. It's not an official barbecue. I'll take you there. How's that? So I'm on top of this mountain. I'm praying. I'm 19 years old. I'm like, God, or maybe I was 20. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I feel lost. I feel confused. I didn't get into the school, but I thought I still needed to give it a shot, move down there and try again. Came down the mountain, and literally when I walked down the path, he pulls up in the parking lot. It's pretty much empty. I kind of remember him pulling up in this crappy 1986 little Blazer, Chevy Blazer. The 2-seater with the door just creaks open, and I'm like, let's go. So we go to this barbecue, and I walk in the door. I don't know this guy that took me to the barbecue. I don't know anybody at the barbecue. Heck, I don't know anybody in town really except this guy that I'm sleeping on his floor. And I never forget this guy. It changed my life. I still remember his name, Eric Jones. He's cooking bacon with his shirt off.
Whoa.
As you do. That's bold.
That's bold.
Well, nobody had their shirt on in slow. I don't know if
Splatter.
you guys have been there. Everyone just
It's a lot of grease, though. I mean, the energies.
Well, this guy was
colliding.
Wild. This guy lived on a boat. He lived on a boat in the harbor. He was that kind of guy.
Making sense now.
Yeah. And it was just, San Luis Obispo was full of characters like that. And I was like, man, I like this place. I don't know what about it, but it's like a bunch of surfers, bunch of just whatever. Guys that take 7 years to get an architecture degree. Let's just hang out here. So he didn't have a shirt on. This is a long story, but I swear it changed my life. He goes, hey bro, what's your story? And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at him like, dude, I don't know. I'm leaving in the morning. I got to go work at a camp. I got like 5 hours to find a roommate. And he's like, man, everything's impacted. Everyone already has their roommates for the year. Like, good luck. And I was like, thanks, dude. And he's like, but man, if I hear anything, I'll let you know. I'm like, well, how are you going to get a hold of me? You know, this is the early days. No one really even has a cell phone. And I'm standing there, and I walk out the door to the back patio where everyone's hanging out, and the phone rings. And I hear him in the background, like, picks up the phone, and he goes, hey, my buddy needs a roommate. And he goes, yo, dude. And I see this hand and a cord come through the doorway.
This is dating you good,
yeah.
Dude.
And the dude has this guy on the phone. He's like, hey, you need a roommate? You know, and because he's like, my buddy needs a roommate. This guy, Eric, called me his buddy. I just met him, and that's how slow worked. You meet a guy, he's immediately your friend. I pick up the phone. I'm like, hello. He's like, hey, you know, this is Greg. You need a roommate? I'm like, yeah. What is going on? He's like, well, I live in the apartment complex right behind this one. Walk through the parking lot. Come over, I'll be standing there. And I'm like, okay. So I hand the phone back to Eric Jones. He goes back to cooking bacon. I walk through the parking lot. I meet this guy, and he's like, yo, what's going on? You need a roommate for next year? I'm like, I'm leaving to go back to Southern California right now. You want to sign the lease? And I was like, are you kidding? Like 2 hours ago, I'm on top of this hill praying, and I don't have a room. I don't have nothing. And now I'm signing the lease 2 hours later. Sign the lease, and then my whole life changed from that moment on. But there was this moment I was like, man, if I just didn't like just go to a town all by myself and just make a prayer. I don't know. I think I met some of my best friends, started a band, traveled the United States for a decade, and met a bunch of people. And the craziest thing is like, 2 years later, a buddy from camp that I met that summer was driving down, and he goes, "Hey, I'm driving to town to hang out with you and this guy Greg." And I go, "Greg who?" And he goes, "Greg Epstein." And I'm like, "How do you know Greg?" He's like, "He was my roommate my freshman year of college." I'm like, "He was my roommate last year." So me and this other guy had the same roommate for 2 years and didn't even know it.
Wow.
And I'm just standing there and I'm like, God, you just kind of like orchestrate life and you put people in your path and you don't even know it till years later. And I think that was the moment I began to trust, okay, God, maybe you do like me. Maybe you are like a supernatural being that's moving pieces. Maybe I can trust you a little bit more. And I wouldn't say that like I was exorcising demons or I was having, paranormal experiences on a daily, but to me, that was a paranormal experience. It was like, I have heard about these kinds of things, but you just think, well, it's selfish for me to want to go to college. I'm not like going to Africa to dig wells. I'm just like hanging out in Slow. God doesn't care about these things. God's not something so personal that he would help me get into this place. But that was a shaping ground because I think some of us are very slow learners, and I'm one of them. And you kind of have to learn to trust God over sometimes decades. And so without that moment in my life, I don't think I begin to take risks and do things. But it was a cool story for me. And
awesome.
Without Eric Jones cooking bacon, my whole life goes a completely different direction.
I love that story, Nate. I love, first of all, how simple it is, because that's like anybody can relate to that. But the thing that's cool is that you didn't just think it was a coincidence. I think there are a lot of people that will have something like that happen and just be like, oh, that must have just been a coincidence. But I think as what you're showing is like, we can have faith that the Lord is moving in these simple moments, these really like simple things in our life. And we can either write them off as coincidences, or we can trust that the Lord and the God and the creator of the universe sees us and cares about our needs, even things that we want versus things that are necessarily, for his kingdom. He knows the greater story, and it's this faith and this trust that you had that it was from God that I think is really incredible. I love that. That's an incredible story.
It was like a prayer. For whatever reason, I thought to walk to a mountain. I walked up the mountain
to a high place. Way to go.
Yeah. And now I know like, oh, there's some significance there. And then there's this prayer. I need to know today. I need to know today if I'm supposed to be here. So you're going to have to make it happen some magical way. And that, I wish I did that more, guys. I wish I walked up the mountain and was like, I need to know today. Whatever. And, something about being a kid and having nothing. I had a Toyota 4x4, 1986 with the KC lights, straight Back to the Future. That's all I had.
That's awesome.
That's all I had. And pair of shoes and a dream. And that day, like hours later. So really cool moment in my life.
Very cool. I love
that. That's great. That's great.
I haven't heard that one. I haven't heard that story.
There you go.
That's a new one.
Yeah. I had to pull out a new one for Luke.
Yeah. And just to clarify, the Epstein was not related to Jeffrey, right? We just want to make sure the roommate Epstein.
There is a lot of people named Epstein out there, Grant.
It's not just the one guy.
Especially related to the origin story of where the book of the Bible kind of birthed out.
Sure. Like Mexico or whatever. All right. Luke.
Mexico.
What about you, Luke?
Yeah, there's a few. I was trying to think about what. I mean, listen, like I grew up in a church that was non-denominational called Neighborhood Church in Chico, California, a wonderful church. I remember in the 90s, and I talked about this on the show before, that there was these traveling like preachers and stuff in the late 90s that would go church to church, and they were, there was people in our church that waved flags and stuff at this point. And then I remember this guy came through. There's really this memory I have, and he was praying for people, and he was like, I don't know what you would call him, like a prophet, but not really. I don't think they use that terminology, but that's kind of what the gist of it was. And where he was praying for people and they were falling over, and I thought it was the goofiest thing I'd ever seen. And I'm, probably a junior in high school. And so I remember he was staying with friends of ours. So we went over to have like a prayer night with this guy. And I didn't fall over. I was like, this is not real. This isn't real. And so I didn't get quote slain in the spirit. I found all that stuff to be, to me, ridiculous. And when it didn't happen, it kind of confirmed to me that like this is kind of a sham, or this is like a shared like emotional experience, not anything that's spiritual. And so I had that kind of operating where I was like, I don't know what I think about this stuff. This is I'd seen it and thought it was kind of goofy, but in the same time I had this experience in high school where probably my lowest time of my teenage years there, where I remember sitting on the edge of my bed and being massively depressed and knowing that I was a Christian because my parents were, but not knowing if that was mine. I remember crying out to God, and I remember vividly being like, if you're real, I need you now. And I kid you not, I felt like God, like Jesus showed up and like hugged me. I didn't see him, but I felt like I was held by Jesus that night, and it completely changed the trajectory of my life. Now that happened, and the story I want to tell about like sort of the power of the Holy Spirit is I ended up going to the call in DC. If you guys remember that in 2000, I was a senior. It was really interesting because there's a lot of that goofy stuff there, but also it was like a real seminal moment where I felt like I was meeting other people that were on fire for the Lord. So then you fast forward after my college experience, I was pre-med, Chico State. Shout out! You went to Cal Poly, Nate. I went to Chico State, Harvard of the West, and I was pre-med, and I spent the year after I graduated studying for the MCAT. Did pretty well, to say that's how it went. But I studied so hard that I reached the end of that time, and I didn't know. Ironically, being 22, 23, you're like, okay, I did all this. Do I really want to go to med school? Not the best time to ask that,
right?
But I kind of wanted to feel like in my mind, in my little 22, 23-year-old mind, I decided, you know what I'll do? I need a break from this so I don't jump into med school and burn out. So I'm going to go give a year to the Lord. I'm going to go suffer for Christ, right? So I end up going to YWAM. I go to Australia.
Amazing.
And spend 6 months doing a DTS there. It was phenomenal. And I promise I'm getting to sort of this Holy Spirit thing. But
no, I didn't know you were a YWAMer. That's
awesome.
Dude.
Sunny Coast, Australia. Shout out. I picked it because I could surf, and it was supposed to be had the least amount of rules in all YWAM. And by God, it's exactly those things.
Those are good criteria.
Because they can be very strict bases, and I knew that going in. So I was looking like, who's the most lax? Because I'm not a big rule guy.
Right.
And it was Sunny Coast, and it was unbelievable time there. But the story that really, aside from that sort of moment in high school, the moment that really was like, I saw God do something crazy in the Spirit it poured out. There's a bunch of things that were little, but the moment is that we did an outreach, part of a DTS, discipleship training school with YWAM, as you do 3 months or so. I can't remember what the timing is, of Bible school, training school, and then they send you out, right? And so my outreach was to Southeast Asia. We went to Singapore, the Philippines, and Thailand. And we were in the Philippines, and we did these little crusades, which I thought were goofy and kind of funny. These little villages in the slums, and we do this thing where we would do a play and then play worship, and we had a translator, and we kind of give a gospel message at the end. We'd ask people if we believe that God is real and active, and He is the same God of the Bible, and He heals people, and He can answer your prayers, and we'd love to pray for you. This particular day, I was the oldest person on this trip. So our leaders were 18 and 19. This is typical YWAM.
Right.
I'm 23.
Post-college, yeah.
I'm 23, and I'm like, these idiots don't know what they're doing. They have no life experience as far as our leaders, and they're really wonderful people. But one of the things that I was really, really irked about being in the Philippines, it's like 100 degrees with 100% humidity. And they insisted that we wore pants for cultural relevance. And literally no one in the Philippines wears pants. So this day I said, no more.
No more.
I wore shorts, and the leader came and told me that if I didn't follow the rules, put pants on, he's going to send me home. And I was like, I bet you won't.
Right. Yeah.
You're not driving to the airport, and you are not sending me home, guaranteed. Nice. And guess what? They didn't send me home. And so we went to this crusade, and I'm in shorts, and I also told him, also because of that, I am not going to be in your play, and I am not going to do worship today. I'm not doing it. And I played guitar in worship.
Hard left turn.
And I played Jesus in the play.
Look at you.
What were they going to do? What did they do?
I was like, get Philip Seymour Hoffman. He'll play both Jesus and Satan. You've seen the movie. So I didn't. And I just said, I'm sitting this one out. I'm tired of you guys. I don't want to. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. Like I'm not wearing pants in here and then listening to these dumb rules. I'm just not doing it. And so I remember sitting there and just sitting it out. And they do the whole thing, and we're in this village, and I remember like thinking to myself, like, this is all stupid. Like, no one's gonna remember this place tomorrow. This isn't really doing anything. This feels like theater. This is really dumb. And I'm sitting there being mad. And this little Filipino girl comes and sits on my lap. And she's probably like the age of my daughter right now. She's probably 2. And I'm trying to be mad. And this little girl sitting there, and she's super cute. And she wants me to sit on my lap, and she wants to, we don't speak the same language, but she just wants to be around people. And so this is happening. And at the end of this thing, we do the prayer thing. Hey guys, we believe God is the same God of yesterday, today, and forever, and we'll pray for you. And so I'm like, I'm not doing this either. But this little girl, I feel less mad. And one of the leaders comes up and he goes, hey, I know you're not participating today. And he was from New Zealand, so he had the accent. But he's like, there's some people need prayer, and 2 of the girls are going to go, but I don't want to send them by themselves because into someone's home. So can you go? And I'm like, whatever. So I go, and I go to this person's home. We walk into this home, and they don't speak English, but what we understand is that there's a wife and 2 children, and the father is paralyzed, and he's been paralyzed. It was an accident. I can't remember exactly what happened. A stroke. It was a stroke. And so he was paralyzed, and he's laying in bed. And we basically found out from the interpreter that this person's family, because the dad couldn't work because he was paralyzed, that the kids are not in school. They were working, and this family was starving to death. Like literally they couldn't make ends meet. And I'm sitting there hard, and I'm just like, in my mind again, I go, you know what? I feel bad for this family, but tomorrow I'll be at a new village. I'm gonna forget about this. And it doesn't even, like, it's just another thing. And we sat there and prayed, and I'm just like, this is nothing, And I remember having this conversation with God, and I was like, God, if you really, in my head, I'm praying, I'm like, God, I would love to just see this person and see this family as you do. Like, you just give me that? I know that I'm in a tough place and I don't really care, but I want to care, and I don't. And I swear, for like maybe the most minuscule second, like I felt like God like pulled that veil over my eyes, and I saw this family, as God saw them briefly, and it like broke me out. I can cry, and I'm starting to cry now. And I just began to weep. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry, God. Like, I'm so sorry. I don't care. And we were praying, and this man who couldn't speak or walk, we'd set up in a chair. He speaks the name of Jesus. And his wife loses it. She starts jabbering off in Filipino and weeping and crying. And then he stands up.
No.
Whoa.
I just got chills.
And I sit there just like weeping. And this dude gets healed, like miraculously, in this room. And I walk out, and I feel like the Lord said to me, and this is not a big like God told me guy, but I feel like God said, see, he goes, look what I can do. And he goes, it wasn't about you. How was your day? More or less, And I'm like, he's like, I got this revelation that like the guy was saying that like, even on your worst day where you decide you're not going to do anything, he's like, you went in there and you were willing, you asked to see my heart, and I showed you. Nothing to do with you. But I love this family. I love these people. And watch what I'm going to do. And he did. And that was just life-changing, because, I think people sometimes have this idea that like, if I get my life right, and I'm in the best place I can be, and I'm doing all the right things, that maybe God will do something through me. But like the Bible's the exact opposite of that. It's always like the crappiest people that get used to do these things. And I was in a very crap place. This isn't about Luke at all, but I got to sit there and witness someone get healed from a stroke, paralyzed stroke, who haven't spoken, couldn't work, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't walk, couldn't move. We had to sit him up in the chair, and God healed him. And then he spoke the name of Jesus, and like he saved a family that was going to starve, at best maybe probably starve to death, or whatever. I mean, it was, I don't know, starve to death is pretty dramatic, but they were going fast.
Wasn't great.
In the wrong direction.
Going south. Yeah. Wow.
And I think for me, that was like, man, I just like, got to do something crazy on a day that I was ready to go home and protest YWAM. And so I saw like this amazing thing. And then, life is life. So I had sort of these really crazy moments. There's a moment after that too, where one of the few times I actually heard God actually speak to me. This is after that trip. I came back to the States. It's a whole other story. But that was completely radical. So I have these things that are percolating, but you know how life is, right? So when we come to the show, and I promise I won't be so, and I'll wrap this up, but we come to the show and do the show with Nate, and I start the show. Nate pitches me on the idea, and we're talking about Bigfoot for 10 episodes. Like, I had this very much this history of seeing God do miraculous things, and there's a million stories, and from like my saving my parents' marriage to this paralytic to God speaking to me. But I think when we got into what we got into, Blurry Creatures was a wide lane. It wasn't just Bigfoot. We were going to talk about weird stuff in the Bible, but when the supernatural realm and understanding that, it really wasn't until the work of Dr. Michael Heiser and even having Mike on the show, episode 34. Nate's like, this is like Nate's Super Bowl. I've said this on the show a million times, and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. But his work was so interesting to revisit the actual context of the Bible, and then to reintroduce, like, I understood how the Spirit worked, kind of like you pray and God does what he's wants to do, and he does do miracles. I've seen it all, but like understanding, I guess, the mechanics, the structure, the ontological aspects of the supernatural realm, the best that we can, has been like revelatory, I think, in this journey for me, and it's completely changed my faith. And then we've had a bunch of wacky stuff happen since we started the show, both of us. I mean, I would think one story, Nate, is like the same day we had a fire start in our houses at the same time.
What?
On the same day. I'm not kidding.
That's crazy.
Your basement, my water heater starts on fire. And I talked to Nate, I'm like, you guys had a water heater. He's like, well, I just had a fire start in my basement. I'm like, okay. I mean,
I had an outlet like freaked out, started smoking.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was early on. I know you guys have had all kinds of stuff happen.
I got stuff on my video cam. I have stuff on a security cam outside my house that I saved the video of. There's like looks like half of a human, misty, kind of ghosty human walking in my yard. And then Grant knows a bunch because I had Grant and Michael Miller come out to the house and pray, not because anything was going on inside the house, but there was just a lot of weird. And you guys know this, Grant, Kat, like when you begin to operate with any kind of significance in the kingdom of heaven for the good team. It doesn't mean you have a show. It just means that maybe as a person, you're walking out, you're listening right now, you're walking out what God has for you. And you become a threat to the kingdom of darkness, that there is now a target on your back. And Nate and I have seen some wild things happen in personal life, anecdotally with stuff. And I think you can look at it a few ways. And you want to deal with it, and this is what you guys do on the show. But I also think that, like I always said on the show, that like sometimes it feels like a badge of honor because it is actually reinforcing or validating the fact that you are a threat to that kingdom, to the kingdom of darkness, and so you're doing something for the kingdom of heaven that matters. Yeah. And it doesn't make it any more fun or easy when you have everything break and all kinds of whatever the chaos that ensues, but at least there's a little silver lining. So that's so true, Luke. The enemy is only going to attack what's a threat to him. So if you're not a threat to him, you're not going to feel that attack as viscerally. Man, that first story, that's unbelievable. Yeah. Luke, like it is believable, but it's just wild.
Yeah.
And I love that it's literally just the smallest act of obedience, even reluctant obedience. The Lord can use it in such a mighty,
it's like Moses being like, no,
I can't. I can't talk. I can't do it.
Don't make it conflate myself with Moses, but like the idea of being like, no, no, I'm not doing that. He's like, well,
that's so good.
Just show up and see what I'll do, and it's like, okay, I can show up,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Grant, didn't something crazy happen when you were praying for Luke?
At his house, yeah. It was like all the smoke alarms went off and
at the same time, right, we finished praying.
And woke his kids up.
I don't know if I've told that story. Maybe I done one of the pods, Nate, recently. I can't remember if I did or not, or just sort of anecdotally. But yeah, Michael Miller, friend of ours, and Grant were at my house praying that night. And never happened. We've been here for 6 years. Never happened once before. It hadn't happened since. But we got done praying over the house and the ministry and the property and all this. All the smoke alarms in my house went off. This is 11:30, 11, late. at the same
Nobody
time.
was making toast. Nobody was making toast.
No,
right?
I mean everybody was asleep except for us.
We were like tippy-toeing it in the backyard.
Yeah,
like,
because kids are asleep.
He's got
Amy's
little
asleep,
kids.
and
wow.
Yeah, and so why? I mean, who knows? Wild. No, there are no coincidences, and that one was like, okay,
that's a weird one. Yeah, I feel like the enemy gets into those like electronic things sometimes just to like mess with us. It's weird. I don't understand that. There's something behind it. Even on Sunday morning, I'm the worship pastor at our church, and we'll have just like the craziest tech things happen. Everything will be just fine, and we'll be like ready to lead worship, and then the whole board will turn off or something, and it'll be like, okay, today's going to be a good morning. Then it looks like the enemy doesn't like it.
Where else does that happen, Nate?
Yeah.
Where else is that?
Pretty much all the tech problems that we've had over the years. It's really weird how they kind of tinker with technology.
So does Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. Which I mean, it's like, which kind of gets you into a whole world of a discussion about what's possible. What can they do? What, where's the limit of human beings, and then these spirit beings, and then other creatures that seem to be very physical. So I don't know. They definitely do. And sometimes it's just every Christian is struggling with opposition. It's not like the hosts of Blurry Creatures are the only ones out there. It's like we're all being like hit with just, I think the number one enemy is just turn off or be distracted. I just want you to turn off, or you're too busy to even pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting way. Like, we have to change how we view our paradigms in our world. Like, oftentimes we think that when we're doing what God wants for us, that it'll be easy and smooth. And that's when things will start to really pair out. But if you look at, like, it wasn't until the children of Israel went into the promised land, that's when the battles started. That's when the fighting started. And so, like, it's just learning, like, hey, and when you're walking in your promise, whatever that is, like, it's a fight, and expect the fight. And so many Christians, when they see the fight, they think, oh, I miss God or whatever. And like, but really, if you look at a biblical framework, I mean, that's when it's on, and when you're walking in your purposes and all of that sort of thing. So that's really, really cool. I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the things that I've seen from your pod. This is what we just call a pod around here, because we're pretty casual about it. But one of the things that I've seen is it's given like this avenue for people that have gone through some level of deconstruction to find their way back into the faith. And I know we've talked about this a little bit, Nate, and, I was up in East Nashville in our first church plant, and, just the deconstruction was everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just in the water. And, what have you guys seen through this avenue that you have created? I know personally people who have walked back into the faith because of your podcast, and because of, like, you gave it a framework where it was safe, and it wasn't, and it sort of made language. And I think a lot of it had to do with like Heiser's understanding of even the Old Testament stories and where that comes from. It gives people a framework to deal with. But what have you guys seen from that? I know, Nate, even like we talked a little bit about some of that deconstruction stuff before.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the band scene. Most band dudes and most Christian guys in bands that like came through the 2000s, and they all walked away from their faith, mostly because they saw the dark underbelly of the Christian music industry, and the business aspect of Christianity is very, very much a turnoff for most people. Like, they're just doing this for the funds. I think for me, I try to think about what it'd be like living in ancient days. I think we sort of created a framework of like, people didn't have a belief problem in the ancient times. You had gods and men commingling. You had, the sorcerers of this nation versus the sorcerers of this nation. You had miracles happening, pillars of fire. You didn't not believe. It was a Game of Thrones in the ancient world, right? So whose God is the best God? It's a messaging issue. Like, and then I think Satan's like, well, let's just put everyone to sleep. We'll just stick them just put them in a coma. They don't even know. They're Christians, but they're dead. They're not alive. They don't see anything as supernatural. They're yelling in traffic and they're paying their taxes. That's what they're doing, right? That's what we want for this. And I think when we started kind of like going back and saying, okay, let's try to think about this differently, and how can we get people to think about what it's like to be in ancient times and seeing some hybrid creatures rolling around, some giants or whatever. It was grandma saw Bigfoot. Okay, I can believe that, baby. Grandma saw Bigfoot. All right, cool. My uncle saw a UFO. Well, what is that? Okay. And we just like trickled in the stories. And then it was like, all right, now let's read the Old Testament with that in mind, with that perspective. And people were like, holy crap, every Bible story I ever heard as a kid makes sense. Every like time mom was trying to get me to go, using some like, ancient Bible story on me, why I should break up with that girl, makes sense finally, like, and I think that when people are given more information instead of less, do they wake up? They're like, oh. And I think the church has a tendency to be like, well, let's not talk about, the circumcision of this group of people and why, what I'm saying? Like, let's keep it in the New Testament. Let's keep it positive and let's just keep rolling. It's like, let's not get into these weird aspects of the Bible. And so, I don't know, we just gave people permission to believe in some of the weird stuff, but also we gave them reason to believe. It wasn't just, let's have a theology podcast. That was not the goal.
Right.
I'm surprised some of these theologians are coming onto our show. It blows my mind that like guys like N.T. Wright are coming on, and you're like, I'm not smart enough to interview any of these people. This isn't really what I wanted. When I was like, Luke, I have this vision, and I thought Luke was going to be like, you're nuts. I don't want to do that. I thought, okay, maybe we'll have a little Bigfoot space. Maybe we'll have a few fringe Christians listen. Maybe we'll be like that obscure band on the Christian record label that sells 5,000 copies and then it's just like cool.
It's on the side stage at the Cornerstone Festival. Yeah. It's
exactly.
The new artist stage.
Yeah. But it's like, that's cool, but nobody really cares about that band. But I think that people started to like actually put some pieces together of like, okay, so the Old Testament was true. Those things actually happened. Okay. And then, oh, wait a minute. There's like a long story of like this fight, like the Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Narnia. All these things are like coming from even some of these characters in these mythological, stories are based on real hybrid creatures that were roaming around back in the day. Oh, it says there were sins against all flesh. Wait a minute. Does that mean like some of the Greek stories are true? And maybe that's why they wrote about all this stuff. Holy crap. Like, and then obviously you sprinkle a little COVID juice on all that. And it's just the fire just lit.
Everything's open.
Yeah.
I have a real question about Greek mythology. Do you guys think that like a centaur is horse on top or horse on bottom?
Luke's got lots of thoughts.
This is the internet question.
Which one is it?
It would make a lot more sense if it was horse on the bottom. I think you start getting some weird the other way around. But we don't know. We just don't know.
It's very confusing. And then if it's horse on top, do they wear clothes on the bottom?
Yeah, how does it work?
I think most
what
of
are the rules?
You guys are the experts,
they
right?
went free. I think most of the time that a lot of people in those days were just not. They're anti-clothes.
Okay,
so
even if it's horse on top, we're just naked. Yeah. Okay, that's good. There's
Listen, just to caveat on what Nate was saying, I think the reason that the blurry has sort of become a thing in a lot of ways is that with timing, as Nate said, it was 2020 was a big red pill for a lot of people, and we get into 2022 and mainstream media starts talking about UAPs and UFOs, and I think our ethos has always been we want to have as highbrow conversations as we can about some of the weird things, and because a lot of pastors and churches were not willing to address some of the things that were happening in mainstream media, people were looking for answers. And I think you pair that also with the idea that atheism, by and large, and we said on the show, is dying. The new age is exploding because people are looking for experiences. They're looking for supernatural and spiritual quote experiences.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of the church isn't doing that. We're getting a lot of like TED Talks and intros to the gospel, which are great. The intro to the gospel is great. The gospel is the greatest story there is. But a lot of churches are just like glorified TED Talks and self-help. And there's a real neutered aspect to the idea of the supernatural aspects of our faith. And so because people aren't experiencing a real supernatural transformation or a real spiritual experience at church, which is where the place they should be, they're looking elsewhere. And a lot of these folks, probably to the deconstruction, have this foundation of Christianity. They've just have moved on because it wasn't
answering their questions. It wasn't
the important questions they have now. And I don't know that we're answering those. We're just trying to find better answers, have real discussions, whether you agree, disagree. People talk about us and we get a lot of negativity sometimes. And it's just that like, I disagree with that. And my response is always like, good. Because now you can articulate better why you believe what you believe. That's the whole point. Like we should have an exchange of ideas. We should be talking about these things. And whether you agree or disagree, you should come to a better conclusion about why you think what you think. And as long as that's grounded biblically, then you're starting at the right place. But there's a massive disservice that happens in the broad brush church where we just stick our heads in the sand. We don't want to talk about some of the things that are happening in culture. Also, don't want to talk about some of the things in the Bible that are uncomfortable and weird. The conquest of Joshua, Balaam's talking donkey, Genesis 6. I mean, you can go on and on and on. But the more you do that, the more you have to come to the realization that we have a very, very supernatural faith and that we cannot divorce ourselves from that reality as much as a postmodern, post-enlightenment, academic, imperialized culture we have. You cannot divorce the supernatural, very supernatural spiritual aspect of Christianity from the moral aspect, the story, all the things that we preach. And so that, for whatever reason, it was good timing, and we were going to talk about some of the things people didn't want to talk about. And I think people found a home for that. They felt disenfranchised by the church or disenfranchised by their pastor, because we could provide better answers to why did God sponsor the wholesale genocide of peoples in the promised land, which is a big sticking point for deconstructionists and progressive Christians. It's like, why would God do that?
Genocidal God, yeah.
And you go, well, listen, a lot of hybrids running around. That's what
the
Bible says.
That's what I love about that too, is just like you guys create space for even just the questions to be held in tension and not necessarily have all the answers right away. But I think like our culture came to this point where we all knew we were like, we're a 3-part being. We're like our body, we have a soul, and we have a spirit. And like the spirit was just like quenched, I think, in the church for a really long time. And it was just probably out of fear, probably out of like skepticism, probably out of it being abused in one way or another at some point. And we've gotten to this point. I think a lot of people have gotten to this point where they're just like, there's got to be more. And there's got to be like the things happening in culture, the things happening in the world around me no longer make sense with a dry faith and with a faith that has nothing to do with the supernatural. And you guys you were this space where people could begin to ask questions and begin to look for answers along with you. I love that. It was amazing. And I do love how it has, your show has brought so many people like back into faith, and it's incredible what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
I love that. Yeah. And I loved, speaking of faith though, like Blurry Con, we were there last year when Grant was on stage, and that space, like I was thinking about it last night when at the end, when Grant was like, who wants more of the Lord? Everybody in the room stood up.
It was crazy.
I was standing in the balcony and I was like, what in the world? Like, this is not like people are hungry for the Lord. They're hungry for an encounter with God. And even in a fringe podcast, side stage at Cornerstone podcast, like conference, people are like not only wanting head knowledge and understanding of like what's happening in scripture and these strange parts of scripture, they want an encounter with the Lord. And I found like that was super fun, getting to pray for people afterwards and seeing the Lord. I saw there was a girl who got her back healed and had some deliverance right at the altar. It was amazing. Like, it was super fun. So I just think, I don't know. Grant, well, you had an incredible, like, couple really powerful moments with people after BlurryCon.
This is what you get for inviting Grant and Chris.
Yeah. People manifesting.
Yeah, so we do a conference every year for people who don't know, and Grant came and gave a message, and even so there was like probably 700, 650, 700, 800 people there, and that's the context of what it was. 2-day conference. So
Yep. It was towards the end, like middle of the second day.
Yeah, not on my bingo card that I love telling the story, and I probably told it 15, 20 times about backsides. We're in a break for lunch, and I'm like in the side stage, which is like the quote green room, and I'm eating a burrito because we got Chipotle, and I hear somebody screaming, and I like peek my head out, and there's Grant, and he just looks over, and he's got his hand out, he's like, just praying, looks over and like gives me like a little nod, and I'm like, didn't have deliverance at lunchtime on my BlurryCon 3 bingo card.
The security guards were like running after me, and I was like, no, it's cool, I'm not touching her.
You're like,
they came over. Like, it is a good thing it was going right into the lunch break, because
that was not on this runner's show. So
good to have some space for that.
Yeah, that was wild. It was one of the most pure things that I've seen, honestly. You talk, Luke, about like your experience of feeling the pressure to fall down, and sort of like that charismania, Christendom sort of idea. And I'm getting more and more convinced that like the next move of God is not necessary. It's going to skip over the charismatics because like it's enough already. It's going to go to people that are hungry for truth, that are open to his word, that, and we're seeing that a lot. So just to see these people that really didn't have they weren't there for a revival service. I mean, it was,
they were there for like a weird,
right. Guys coming out of a pirate ship on the Goonies set.
Let's go.
I do think that there is sort of this, like, I think the reason why Luke and I were turned off maybe growing up to some of the charismatic stuff is just because the desire outweighs the need, right? So God's going to use things, quote, supernatural things to fulfill his purpose. And I was actually in church on Sunday. I was thinking about this, guys. Like, the reason the Old Testament feels so blurry and strange is because sometimes the entire salvation of humankind was resting on one human life. So God had to keep that guy alive, and everything else had to happen. If this guy doesn't stay alive, the King of Kings can't be born through this lineage. We tend to think we have a very narcissistic view of Christianity, where we're the center of the story. Everything's about me. Whereas like there's a crazy story, like prophecies coming where someone through this line is going to be born. And I think that's why you have parting of the Red Seas, like these supernatural events that feel like weird movies to us in the 80s when we think about it. Like, oh, that didn't happen. But I think that once Christ fulfills a lot of this stuff, then it's like it kind of spreads, and there's like it's just not as much of a like, it's not the crescendo of the story. It's not that moment. It's not where everything has to come down to this nation needs to be literally saved from disaster. So if that makes sense, I think that when you add the characters in, you start to go, okay, the human story is so much more bizarre, so much more weird, but maybe that's why there were some hotter times in the Old Testament than the New. Or
it got hot. Whew,
yeah. We got shadows healing people in the New Testament.
But I mean like on a like when you think the most popular stories in the Bible, you think like Noah's Ark, you have these outliers, David and Goliath, you just have these quintessential stories. Most of the time, I think that's the hang up for the deconstruction. It's the Old Testament mirrored to the New, and it's so confusing. They feel like two different, completely different genres of faith. Mm-hmm. And I think Blurry's kind of married it all together into one big story, and then you're not the center of it. Humans were built for a reason, but maybe not the reason that your pastors told you, sort of.
Well, thing. I think that you guys had NT Wright on, who does, in my opinion, just some of the best work in talking about the continuation of the story. Like, his whole focus is how the gospel is this continuation of the Israel story, of the creation story, of all of that. And I think, yeah, you can see all of that play through, and it's just it's where we are. It's what we need need to get to. But really quick, I'm sorry to do this. We got to take a quick break for sponsorship. And so if you just like sit there and pick your nose or whatever.
Luke's going to sing.
But yeah. So now a word
freestyle.
And now a word from our sponsors.
All right. Have you ever this is one of my favorite products, and we only do products that we use, right, Grant?
Yeah. We're very thankful for our sponsors.
We're so thankful for our sponsors. This show is not possible without them. Have you ever been in the middle of a deliverance session, Grant, and suddenly heard somebody yell, "It's coming out"?
Introducing the Purge Purse, the first ever pop-up barf bag designed specifically for spiritual warfare emergencies.
Yes, the Purge Purse, TM, isn't just discreet. It is ministry ready.
Featuring quick release expansion technology and our patented splash guard for protection, you'll stay clean while the demons leave screaming.
Yeah, nothing is worse than getting a little barf on your hand while trying to hold the bag for somebody. Not only is the Purge Purse compact enough for your purse or backpack or a tactical deliverance fanny pack, it has a wide mouth with lots of space for the stuff that comes out to come out and make it in the bag.
Yeah, I love the tactical purse fanny pack that I saw on Sean Ryan. And you can choose between the standard manifestation size, the Revival Night XL edition, because sometimes one demon, they bring friends, and sometimes it's legion. And so you're going to need more room in that barf bag for you. But they do a great job with this product.
Yeah, it has this wonderful odor locking holy seal technology. So you can seal it right up and put it for your car ride home, and your car ride home is not going to be gross. It's going to stay anointed. So it's wonderful.
The Purge Purse, stay prayed up and keep the bag open. You guys, you can find that product online on our website. You can go to purgepurse.com and enter the code Everyday Exorcist 777777777 to get 7% off of all purchases of that product. But we just so thankful for our sponsors, and they keep us in business, and you guys are just doing such great work. So Blurry, sorry for that, guys. We got to get back to the show now, but
there's no way that's real. It's unreal. That was like SNL. That was so good.
Grant has made me do these, and I hate it with every part of my being.
So we do a call-in show, and so
I was sitting there. You had me for a second, and I'm like, come on, dude. Come on, dude.
So my wife comes up with all of these spoof commercials, and then we throw them in. And a lot of times we'll do it with the guests, and they're just like, you can just watch their face of like, what is this about? You know what I mean? They can't even.
I was like,
I was like, this is either like the craziest charismatic, like entrepreneurial thing, or
speaking of charisma,
at the very beginning, and then it was like, this is not real. No one's. Listen, when I'm casting out demons.
Yeah, I was like, how are they? My mind went totally like, how are they getting ads for these companies? Like, this sounds like a company we should work with. But then
really cutting edge.
That's so good. That is really good. My gosh,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
I was like, I feel like the Twilight. I feel like it was an SNL. I'm like,
no, that's exactly how this started. Luke, is Grant secretly wished he was on SNL as a kid, and then he was like, I would really like it if we could just make that part of the show. And I was like, absolutely not. We're not doing that. But Grant,
wait, how many sevens in the code? How many sevens in the code?
There's so many sevens.
77777.
So we do.
I was for 7% off. I was like, that's really not that much of a percentage off.
Not that much.
Listen, I love how you're thinking the whole time this is real. Yeah,
I didn't know what to think. I was like,
I'm like, don't want to be disrespectful. I start laughing. I'm like, I hope they're not looking at me. It's like,
well, this is what we do all day long. We have to.
I was also thinking, like, dude, pretty brave. Like, Nate and I have to when we do our ads. It's like, you don't really want to do it in front of the guests because it just it'd be so awkward, you know? Like, touche, my friend. That was well done.
That's great. The whole thing, yeah. So
have you guys ever listened to Smartless, the show where they I forget who's on it, but it's a very funny show, and they do that where they'll just roll into their ads. But theirs are actual ads, ours are not. Just to be,
we do those sometimes.
Yeah. We so we have a function on our website where people can go and record themselves asking a question, and so we'll do like Q&A shows and just answer the questions. And part of the deal is that I don't know what the question is. And but it's like they get so heavy, like you kind of have to like be ridiculous to sort of offset some of this. And so I turned it into like a late night radio Fraser Crane call-in show sort of idea. And so we actually I made a whole theme song for it and a movie cartoon and all of that sort of stuff, just because it's like it's such a ridiculous thing. So then was like, we have to have sponsors for this fake call-in show.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of
it's really fun when he'll be like, call 555-789-2712 and we'll get your question answered tonight here on the show. Who do we have on the line? And then we click to the voice recording.
It's
somebody like crying and they're
weeping.
like, I've been
Like,
traumatized by demons my whole life. And we're like, oh my gosh.
Ooh.
We love it. We love our listeners. We love the questions. Send in questions. Go to our website and send in a question if you want to be on the next call-in show, and we will happily answer all your theological questions. That's a real.
Brought to you by Miracle Adult Diapers. You ever pooped yourself seeing a miracle? Now you can take care of that mess when you're not.
You should send in some.
Did you ever?
ideas.
Yeah, you should. You ever seen Scott do something so miraculous you poop your pants? We have the problem. We've been there.
Well, I feel like you were really testing us to see like how well these guys are good at discerning a story, if it's legit or not. And both of us were like,
you both fell for it.
No, we were both like skeptical internally.
I almost was about to text Nate during this and be like, "Bro, this can't be real."
What? Well, I think
that makes me so happy.
Let's get him on the phone.
What happens on Blurry Creatures is somebody will come on and start telling a bizarre story. And internally, our alarms are kind of ticking a little bit, and then we kind of go, I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's enough time to really just like lambast people on the podcast. So,
right.
But what happens is just like this.
You've gotten really good at the poker face.
Internal gut check. No, I think there is sometimes we push back, but I think for the most part on Blurry, we just kind of go, I think maybe parts of the story are true at least. So let's work for that. Let's work from there. But that ad, I was like, nah. I don't.
Oh, wow.
So we did.
Especially you can keep the anointing on your way home.
You got to keep it. You got to keep your car.
Keep the anointing.
You got to stay on that demon tube. That's why we only fly private. We do Spirit Air, and it's a private jet company.
Spirit Air just closed.
Yeah,
it's now a private jet company.
Yeah, it's private jet company. Keep the demons out of that demon tube.
You got to know somebody to get on a Spirit Airlines.
My favorite joke was like, they were trying to do a crowdfund to buy it in America, and they were going to call it American Spirit.
They would give out the packs of cigarettes for it.
It was like a co-op.
Like the only one you can smoke on.
That's great.
Yeah. The organic co-op
natural.
airline, American Spirit. And
that's great.
That's awesome. I'll invest. Where are we going?
I love
my band guy. My band guy days. I'm ready to do it. Yeah.
Well, guys,
where do we want to land this plane?
Yeah, we're gonna land it at this point, but we don't want to
transition.
take up too much of your time.
Pro move, Nate.
Thanks.
That was good. That was
good.
Oh,
I didn't even get it. I
just it's a plane. Yeah.
Yeah. She's too busy thinking about her next fake commercial. That's the problem.
Land the
man.
Yeah, you gotta get someone.
We got Bigfoot repellent.
Yeah,
especially during mating season, you're gonna really.
Yeah, we would have known that right away, though. Would have been like,
right. That would have been. Real. We should have probably done a Bigfoot theme. Yeah, one, but
you're like, is it Bigfoot mating season by your house? You're gonna need something to keep them away.
You should have an ad on about centaurs.
Right. Yeah.
Horse on top or bottom. You can have both.
Is your uncle growing hooves?
Right. Oh man,
too many
guys,
demons,
thank you.
Azazel,
thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you guys an out because we're at an hour here.
We could keep talking. Our fans love. You guys know how they are. They're always like longer podcasts.
Oh yeah.
And so we could literally go for forever, and I think they would listen to it. I don't understand it. I think I would
get sick of hearing myself in my microphone.
I know you get sick of hearing me talk for sure. I can't stop talking, and Grant's just like, it's enough. It's enough already.
Yeah, I think I kind of want to go.
Oh, you have to go.
I'm trying to go. So we've got a tent company is waiting on me outside. But
very
none of this is true, bro.
Yeah,
that is true. Actually,
that one is true. We're throwing a big party tomorrow at the church.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought you were like going.
They showed up early.
You like you built your tabernacle?
Like
you want to start a church in the middle of nowhere?
The tent maker.
The tent maker.
We have derailed.
Would you like to pitch a tent? A real one.
What do you need? What do you want? What do you
need? What do we want to do?
We're good, guys. Listen, thank you so much for taking time out and coming on. I know we've talked about it, and just so thankful. I know a lot of our listeners migrated and came from Blurry and have added us to their repertoire, and so I know they're going to be excited to see y'all here, and so we're just so thankful. I'm so thankful for our friendship, and thankful for what you guys are doing, and we're praying for you guys, and because what you're doing is real. And we tell people all the time, like, hey, listen, like you were saying, Luke, like, not everything on your show is like stamp of approval, go for it.
Right.
Like you're leaving space for questions. And so people come up and be like, should we listen to this podcast? I'm like, yeah, I'd listen to it. But just, recognize that they're just asking questions and they're not trying to tell you the answers,
Yeah.
And so I think you said that so well with letting people discern and say, I don't think I agree with that, and building their own faith. So
100%.
thank you so much for what you guys are doing.
Exactly.
And I know you guys got a tiger by the tail with this podcast. And so we're praying for you and excited to see what God has for you in the future.
Thank you.
It's gonna be fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Luke
you.
wants to make now that we're done, he wants to make a centaur joke that he's been waiting since we started.
No, I actually had a Macho Man reference. I was gonna.
He really would have
You're
talked about the
close.
horse on the bottom.
Dude, we set that meme around a lot. Yeah, that is horse on top.
man.
Horse on top.
Yeah. Where's my top?
That's when it
Top
starts
is
to
a
get
little
weird. It
much.
feels a little top heavy. I don't know how you'd walk
Yeah.
around. I mean, that's
He's
like-
Do
strange.
they have horse arms, or do they have human arms and just a horse head?
Just
I
a
don't
horse
know.
head.
Just a horse.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Many-
But these are
Yeah.
questions that maybe in your next episode you could explore, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call in on your website and ask you.
Yeah.
personally.
You should
Please
ask
do.
them.
I have a
I
burning
mean,
question.
it is wacky. I mean, I know there's been a couple of deliverance sessions that I've been in that there are actual like these Greek and Roman gods that have like spirits behind them that we will cast out. So like Apollyon and Dagon, which was the god of the Philistines, and he had a fish head.
He was
He was
fish
a
on top.
fish head on top. So I mean, it's not unheard of, but those are actual spirits that can oppress people and that we've seen people get free from here on the Everyday Exorcist show, because it truly is for everybody. It's not scary. It's not spooky. It's something that people that are following the Lord do, and people that are, walking with Jesus. It shouldn't be something that's inaccessible. I feel like a lot of times it feels inaccessible, but that's kind of part of our goal, is to make it accessible, make it available, give you tools and equipping and practical understanding on how to see, push back against the darkness, just like Luke and Nate are at Blurry Creatures. So guys, we're so thankful for you joining us today. This was an incredible conversation. I loved laughing. I loved hearing your stories and hearing how the Lord is using you all, and just even those incredible stories of faith that you shared at the beginning. It's just been an incredible conversation, and we're so grateful that you spent time with us today and spent time with our audience. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, just roll it out with some switchfoot.
Roll it out.
Just
Yes, beautiful. Let's
Well,
Let's do it.
If Dagon was half fish, I'd like to catch him on some 5-pound test on the wall.
Yeah.
That'd be a big fish.
Fly
Yeah,
rod.
just-
That's exactly.
Just
It'd
the
be a
head.
Can you? What
lunker.
kind of?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the string.
That's
was
what I'm
It's a
saying.
lot.
5-pound test is for small fish. I want to bring him on that. That'd be a legend.
A legend. Yeah. Guys, thank you
Amazing.
so much for listening. Thank you, Blurry Creatures, for joining us here. Do you guys go by Blurry Creatures? You and Nate? Is that
Not
like
typically.
your handle?
No, well, it's a handle
No.
on everything. Yeah, not like personally. Like no one calls me
You don't-
Blurry Creatures. in
No one calls
public.
you.
No.
You,
Oh, yeah.
you guys are my
Nate and I are
my
together.
Blurry Creatures. You guys are my Blurry Creatures,
You are.
and thank you so much for being.
Yeah.
Sometimes Grant, if Nate and I are together, like sometimes on Tuesdays at a certain restaurant, we'll be like Blurry Creatures, and we'll be like,
No,
Creatures. So good to see you,
It's
Blurry.
no, guys.
Where
it's
are
really
they?
good. We have to
Yeah.
kind of combine our energy, otherwise we become the centaur of attention.
Yeah, the centaur of attention. That was
love
good.
it.
There we go. And with that,
Dad
you
joke.
guys.
Wait. I wanted to give them a
we
chance
are going
if there
to-
was anything they wanted to pump. If there wasn't anything that you wanted to promote to our audience, other than your pod, like, is there something you want to send them to
oh boy,
find information about?
I see Nate spinning. He's thinking of a fake product.
He's trying to
right
come
now.
up with a fake product right now.
Exactly.
No, let me
I know
think.
you've got your new thing, Stranger Theology, right?
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, Blurry Creatures, you can find us at every handle, blurrycreatures.com. We do have a theology project with our friend Dr. Joel Mutamali, which is where we kind of dive. We absolutely dive in head first into all the theology.
Not kind of.
Not kind of. Yeah,
I like
it's
that. I like
Super.
that.
Super dive in.
We super dive, and it
Yeah.
is a pike double backflip into the deep pool of theology. A lot of the theology around Blurry, a lot of the Heiser theology, and we've got theologians and guest writers. It's a Substack. It's a pretty cool place to really suss out a lot of the theological questions that we sometimes go deep dive into, but don't all the time. So check that out, strangertheology.com. And anything else I forgot, Nate?
Yeah, we're working. We have a Kickstarter that's out now. We have been working. They brought the woolly mammoth back last year, but we're really trying to bring back, the centaur, actually. So check it out.
Yeah.
You can donate, and we got a team of scientists trying to bring back some of the blurry creatures of the ancient times. So
yeah,
Perfect.
you ready?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't think so much about if you can.
Oh,
You don't
man.
think about if you should.
I was about to go there.
Doing those things.
Dr. Ian Malcolm. I was about to say, man. It didn't sound
Alan
like it
Grant.
should.
You got Grant in your name.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank y'all for listening. We will be back next time.
Yep.
Later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.